What's going on, everybody? This is the Chicago Sports Talk. Michael back at it with another video talking, of course, the Chicago Bears. Bears fans, we have to talk. And once again, it may seem like I'm bringing up the old shit, but trust me, it's all gonna make sense why going into this year this could be a biggest issue that can happen to Caleb Williams. And before we begin with this breakdown, hit the like and subscribe button, hit the bell notifications for more of this content, because it's going to be a long one. So get the popcorn ready. So the biggest issue with that can happen to Caleb this year, is it the coaching staff? Is it the offensive line? Is it the defense being completely terrible? And Caleb has to play from behind majority of the time. It's going to impact his development. And that is the offensive line. Yes, I've said it. I know that there's a lot of rankings that had the Bears offensive line ranked 11 last year or this upcoming year, but either way, there's some question marks that I have for this offensive line, and it questions me about how quarterback Caleb Williams will develop. There's a lot of questions on Braxton Jones. There's a lot of questions on Tevin Jenkins. There's a lot of questions on the center position, whether or not we get Connor Williams or not. And there is question marks on Nate Davis. And Nate Davis is looking like a waste of a signing. The only thing that on the offensive line that doesn't concern me at the moment is the right tackle position, aka drafting Darnell Wright. And Darnell Wright's been solid for the most part on the Bears since last year. So the offensive line, let's just say, hasn't been the best for the Chicago Bears recently, which is the main reason why majority of our quarterbacks have not worked out, is because they don't have time in the pocket to deliver. Now, how can Caleb deliver, or how can the offensive line fix their issues? Well, let's get right into it. So Bears fans, it took a while to find the ranking of the offensive lines, because I'm no longer subscribed to PFF. The Bears offensive line is currently ranked number 12 going into this year. So Bears fans, let's talk about the offensive line. First and foremost, let's start with obviously the center position. The center position has been a major, and I repeat, a major issue with the Chicago Bears. The Bears have not had a center ever since Cody Whitehair back in 2018, which Cody Whitehair was a Pro Bowl center. Other than that, they didn't have a good center. So the center. The most important position on the offensive line is the center. And currently, by the time of this recording, Shelton Coleman is the starting center, but he's not being viewed as anything special. As far as Braxton Jones goes, I think Braxton Jones is all right for the most part, but the question of Braxton Jones is the bull rush. Can he handle the pass rusher? And because there's many parts where Braxton Jones got bullied by the pass rush, because when it comes to the bull rush, that's where his struggle is. Tevin Jenkins, he's been good when he's healthy. The question with Tevin is his availability, being there for 17 games, because there was a time stretch where Tevin Jenkins was out with he was out like 4 to 5 games due to injuries. So Tevin Jenkins has yet to play a 17-game stretch. Even he knows that himself. Also, the Nate Davis issue And I'm going to be completely honest. I'm starting to give up on Nate Davis because Nate Davis is just being proven a waste of a contract. And the offensive and people when people say, "Oh, quarterback play can determine how bad an offensive line is a lie. Okay, there is a reason why Brock Purdy is being viewed differently because Brock Purdy has a solid offensive line and he has solid playmakers. Lamar Jackson didn't have the best weapons, but you want to know his offensive line is a lot better than what people give it credit for because the Ravens know how to develop an offensive line. The Bears have not developed an offensive line. The Chiefs, same thing. They have a solid offensive line. So it doesn't matter who their weapons are, or it doesn't matter the coaching staff when you scheme to get players open. But the offensive line has always been a major issue for the Bears. That's why Trubisky, when he was here, he struggled behind that offensive line because the offensive line was terrible. When Justin Fields was here, he struggled behind the offensive line. Every quarterback that's been through our doors has struggled behind an offensive line for the majority of the part because you want to know why. They don't have – two things could be true. They don't have the proper coaching staff and they don't have the right personnel that's around on the offensive line. Because when a offensive line can ruin a quarterback's development, and that could scar quarterbacks for life. And that would force them to hold on the ball, because Caleb's issue going into this year is getting that ball out much quicker, because it comes with the time in the pocket is what is going to matter for Caleb, because the last thing we want Caleb to do is run around and get hurt. And then who we got? Tyson Bagent. The reason why, and I use this a lot, Jalen Hurts. Listen, if you put Jalen Hurts on last year's Bears, they don't go anywhere, because you want to know why. Jalen Hurts is a product of what the Eagles put around him. A offensive line that takes that you have century amount of time to throw the football. The reason why the offensive line was bad near the end is because they dealt with a lot of injuries. And no, I don't believe any quarterback would have made a difference last year. Yeah, they probably would make a slight difference, but it wouldn't. If we got to the playoffs, the Bears would have been first round exits because they were inexperienced. Because the term the quarterback can determine how a offensive line plays is, I'll give it 50% true. All right. It does, because people want to say, oh, Bagent was the least sacked quarterback in the NFL last year behind that same offensive line that Justin Fields. Because you want to know why? And that doesn't matter, because we still went 2-2 with Tyson Bagent, and Bagent still struggled behind that offensive line. He only had one good game against the Brian Hoyer Raiders defense. So, and the reason why he was the least sacked quarterback is because he was throwing short passes majority of the games that he was playing in. So the term that, quarterback can determine how bad an offensive line is, which is why I say wins and losses are majority of the people put wins and losses on quarterbacks, not the entire team. They don't say DJ Moore has this record. They don't say Keenan Allen has this record. They only say the quarterback. They don't even talk about the coach. All they talk about is the quarterback. They say the quarterback, this has much record. Wins and losses are not a quarterback stat, because if they were, then why do we draft Caleb? Because correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb after the Notre Dame game had a losing record. So, and that just proves the point. Even, and people can say Caleb had a bad team. Well, that just proves the point further of why wins and losses are not a quarterback stat, because the entire team, all right, offensive line, coaching staff, wide receivers, defense, it matters, because at the end of the day, Caleb, let's keep it a buck. This should concern you as Bears fans, that our offensive line has really had, we never had a good offensive line before. And Ryan Poles, being an offensive lineman, probably knows what it's like to be to be a part of an offensive line experience. So Caleb, like I said, I'm holding him to standards that he was brought into, but there's a lot of concerns going into this year with the offensive line, and it can determine how his development is. So anyways, that's my thoughts on what's the biggest issue that can happen to Caleb Williams this year. Let me know in the comment section what is the biggest issue that can happen to Caleb Williams this year. As always, thanks for watching. Bear down.